We like telling stories on Living St. Louis, and we've been doing it for a while, but nothing compared to the St. Louis Storytelling Festival, which is now in its 40th year. And they don't just bring storytellers to the stage, they bring great stories to the community. The festival runs from April 25th to May 4th, and there are some 90 different events in all kinds of venues throughout the area. When it comes to storytelling festivals, this is a big deal.
St. Louis has really kind of become a capital of storytelling in the United States.
But storytellers around the country might well be more aware of St. Louis than St. Louis is of them or their own festival. Lisa Overholser has been festival director for 5 years.
I'm very familiar with that phrase. I've never heard of that before. Yeah. But yeah, we've been around for 40 years.
The festival's run by the University of Missouri's Extension Office, and it started out with the Gateway Arch as its partner, and it still is. The first festival was small with a small mention in the paper, but it turns out they were in on the ground floor of something of a storytelling revival.
This was coming right after the bicentennial celebrations in the United States, so that kind of idea of who are we and, where are we and who are we as a country and, what's our story? So that was kind of in circulation at the time, and there was kind of a storytelling renaissance at the time. So all of those kind of came together to create the first storytelling festival here in St. Louis.
Well, you must be doing something right because you've been doing it now for 40 years. I don't mean you personally, but this has been going on for 40 years. Or what is working well in this for it to be able to keep going like this?
Yeah, storytelling is it's a very old art form. It's a very traditional art form. It's one of the most kind of basic ways to express oneself. And it exists in all cultures. It exists all over the world. And it's just a very resilient way that cultures have sustained themselves. So I think over the course of the 40 years, it's changed a lot. Storytelling has really gone through some major shifts. But it's been resilient, it's persevered, and storytellers have adapted. It's grown into this really fantastic kind of professional art form also over the past 40 years, and that's been really exciting to see.
I know you have a lot of events in a lot of different places, so if I want to go, I can go there, but you're also, I think over the years, the festival has made an effort to bring it to the community as opposed to bring the community to the festival.
Yes, yes. When we started 40 years ago, it was a 2-day festival, and we were primarily at the Arch. We did go into schools already that first year, and that's always been kind of a core of our festival, is working with schools and integrating into school curriculum, and that has remained a core. Over the years, due to many different changes, more and more we've been engaging with community partners and working with their programming, going to their sites, working with their audiences, and kind of integrating into the work that they already do. So the festival is very much a community-based effort. It has been that way since the beginning, but this year, as an example, we have over 90 different sites. Now, a lot of those are schools. Some of those are not open to the public. We go into the Children's Hospital. We go, into the City Juvenile Detention Center. We go into a lot of schools, and those are not going to be open to the public. But we have a lot of public events as well that are going to be very public, at performance venues, at parks, at historic sites and museums and things like that. So it's a really interesting festival, very community-based.
Is the target audience generally kids or families? Are there some things which may not be family-friendly, more adult-oriented?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because working with K through 12 curriculum and youth has always been kind of a core of our festival, but storytelling, a lot of storytelling, is very much for adult audiences, and not that it's crude or vulgar or anything like that. It's just, the themes are they need a little bit more time to digest. They may be more mature themes. So we have events for all ages. We have events for as young as pre-K, but we also have events for retired audiences, for adults. We have some of our evening programs, our later tail programs, specifically for adult audiences. You know, we have a deaf storyteller that's going to be working with the deaf community here in St. Louis. That's always been a long time partner of ours, is the deaf community. So we work with a lot of different community organizations and kind of cater to, you know, who their audiences are as well. And it could be very young children, it could be older children, it could be families, you know, encouraging that kind of communal experience of storytelling.
This is something that a lot of people feel we've lost and we need more of. So they might be looking at what you do and say, this is great, because we need this more than ever.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. If you talk to any of our featured storytellers or any professional storyteller, they'll tell you that one of the skills you need to have as a storyteller, ironically, is the ability to listen. And that's another aspect that I think storytelling really emphasizes, because that connection, there has to be a storyteller, but there has to be a listener. And being a good storyteller is as much about telling the story as it is about listening. And that's always going to be a skill that, you know, we're going to need and we need to preserve, and we need to really not forget that we need that in our society. And we need to be able to articulate well and to pass information along articulately and expressively and artfully. And that's never going to change. We're always, as humans, going to be doing that.
And they'll be doing that all over St. Louis as part of the Storytelling Festival kicking off on April 25th.